Good afternoon, everyone. Looks like we have lots of people on the line for our meeting this afternoon. I have 2 minutes after 2, so if it's okay with everyone, we'll go ahead and get started. First thing we need to make sure we have a quorum. So I know Tracy's on. Is Kendra home? Are you on?
I'm here.
Great. Kelly Roker.
I'm on.
Good. Karen Hust. Or Rama. Think that was Karen. You're a little breaking up there. Sounds like
Hi, it's Karen.
Okay, that's much better.
Me?
Kelly Vaughn.
Hello?
Yes.
It is Karen. Sorry.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Karen. Kelly, are you on? Kelly Vaughn? Or how about Crystal Smith?
Hey.
Oh,
Hey, sorry, I'm having to unmute. I'm here.
okay. Thank you, Kelly. And I believe I saw Crystal logged in. So it looks like we do have a quorum. So Gabby sent out the minutes to everyone earlier in the week. So did everyone have a chance to look over those? And if so, can we get a motion to approve?
It's Kendra. I move to approve.
Thank you, Kendra.
Kelly Roker, I motion to approve as well.
Kelly, thank you. All right, any discussion? Or we'll use the cricket consensus for any to oppose. All right, no objections. So the minutes approved. Thank you all very much. Do we have any new members, first time attending this meeting on the line that would like to introduce themselves?
Hey, my name is Stacy Smith. I'm the trauma coordinator for the state of Georgia with the Department of Public Health and Office of EMS and Trauma.
Hi, Stacy. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Heather
Joanna
Clement. I'm Piedmont Cartersville. I'm the interim trauma program manager at Piedmont Cartersville. First time attending.
Okay. What was your name again? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Heather Clement.
Heather. Welcome, Heather. We're glad to have you.
Hi, I'm Joanna Dawson from Atrium Health Navigation Medical Center. I'm a social worker with the trauma program, first time attending.
Nice. Welcome.
Yay for Joanna. I got a deficiency for expert, but I got Joanna, so I'm happy.
Okay. Is anyone else?
Hey, this is Kelly Roker. I just wanted to introduce Rebecca Gaskins. She's the new trauma program manager at Children's at Eggleston.
Welcome.
You said her name's Rebecca?
Yes, she goes by Becky Gaskins. She comes to us from West Virginia.
Okay, great.
And I'm Patience Galsine, a new trauma registrar at Northeast Georgia.
Hey, this is Pam Vanderberg. I am not new to GCTE, but I was gone for 10 months and I have now returned to Grady as the VP of Trauma.
Welcome back, Pam.
Hey, this is Shelby Adams. I am new to this meeting. I am the trauma PI coordinator at Doctors Hospital of Augusta.
Welcome. This is great. We got lots of new people. This is wonderful. Anyone else?
Hi, this is Nadine Lynch. I'm the burn program manager here at Wellstar Cobb Hospital in Austell, Georgia.
Hi, Nadine. This is great. Okay. Anybody else before we move on? We welcome all of you and look forward to meeting you in person at our next meeting.
Okay, well, I guess we'll go start right in with our report. Is Liz on the call?
I'm here.
Okay, take it away, sister wife.
Taking it away, sister wife. Oh, can you see my screen? It looks like I'm sharing, but nothing.
Yes,
Okay.
you got a Zen picture up there.
Oh, I know. Isn't it glorious? Hang on a second. Let me see if I can just share the there we go. There we go. Okay. Is that a little better?
Yeah.
The first thing that I wanted to go over with the group is this is the time of year where we always review the next contract PBP, your performance-based payment criteria, because many of the meeting attendance criteria are on a calendar year. So even before you start your contract for FY25 on July 1st, we want to be sure that you're aware of any of these changes coming up. This year, nothing is new related to meeting attendance, so that's all staying the same. We're trying to keep everything the same so that it's not onerous to keep up with, just making some subtle changes. So for this year, there's about 5 changes, and 2 of them are relevant for everybody. And one of those is we added back the maintenance of your record closure rate of 80% within 60 days. And we had taken that away and made it more about your compliance with your data submissions. But with the launch of Arbormetrics, and Gina will have an update for you guys on that, and the significant investment made in that, 1.3 million, I'm sure you've heard me say that over and over again. If you're just submitting your data, but it's empty, in other words, if you're not keeping up with your record closure and you don't have, enough data to submit for that quarter, it's not going to make the risk-adjusted comparison very meaningful. So we want to make sure that everybody's staying within that threshold set by the ACS. So that is coming back. And then Gina will come out with a calendar for your GQuIP data submission requirements. That'll be quarterly. It's going to be matched up with everything for the state and for NTDS, so you won't have to keep track of additional data submissions. However, if you are more than 14 days outside the window after your requirement, and Gina will go over this in much more detail, you'll miss that PBP criteria, and you won't be included in a risk-adjusted benchmarking for that quarter. So you'll have to wait till the following quarter to be included. And that's just because we can't, again, we can't hold up the rest of it for benchmarking analysis. So that's to try to keep everybody on the same page as far as that goes. And then there's a couple more criteria. One for the level 3 centers, we have extended the verification requirement to FY26. So that means June 30th of 2025. That's the end of the FY 2025 fiscal year, because many of you are just now having your consult visits. So we'll have to really stay in tune. Please, keep in touch with me about how those consults are going, because we want to make sure we've got the timeline correct, and we don't want anyone to suffer any negative consequences with this. But I'm copied on all your visits now, so it looks like everybody's progressing. Catch me if you're going to be at the commission meeting tomorrow or the rural stakeholder meeting, or if you're not going to be there, just email me. But let's stay in communicate and make sure that it seems like everybody should be aligned to meet that, but if you're not, let's have a one-on-one conversation about it. And then for the level 4 centers, again, we want you to still submit your data to NTDB, but you only really need to do that annually. And I believe they only publish an annual report or use that annually. That may change in the future, but that data is not required to be submitted quarterly. So you just have to do an annual submission there. And then based on what the report came back, this is probably almost a year ago now, from the results of the PTSF consult visits, the level 4 consult visits. We want to make sure that every level 4 center has a PI plan. So myself, Gina, April, and now Stacy, new addition to the team, we'll be reviewing those and make sure that everybody is set up for success from a level 4 center perspective with your PI plans. So that's it for this year. For any PBP changes, very minimal, no substantive changes really, but happy to take any questions. Sounded like somebody was going to speak up, maybe not. Again, if you're going to be at the commission meeting tomorrow, happy to talk to anyone about any of it or about the level 3 ACS verification requirement. So we are having our big meeting tomorrow. November is always what we call the annual meeting. It used to be that we reviewed the bylaws every year. We don't do that anymore. There's really not much significance to an annual meeting any longer. The commission meets quarterly for those of you who are new, but for November, our meeting always coincides with National Rural Health Day. So we're really excited about that. And we are going to be at the State Office of Rural Health. So we can celebrate with them. The power of rural is the theme this year. And we have a lot of rural initiatives going on. The afternoon after the commission meeting hopefully gets done by 12 noon. Sister wife, you'll have to keep him moving along with me to make sure we stay on that time frame, because we have a lot to work through with respect to the recommendations from the ACS from the Rural Focused Review. So we'll be taking those, looking at those line item by line item and what initiatives we have going on to address those, where folks feel there are priority areas that we should focus on. And from the stakeholders' point of view, what is not important? What do we need to kind of hold off and wait? And then I think moving forward, hopefully we'll have some meeting times set up to look at those full system recommendations, because there's a lot of meat there that we have to dig into. There's still a lot of recommendations from the 2009 visit that we have to dig into. So much more to come from all that, and happy to take any questions. And I look forward to, for those of you who are able to come in person tomorrow, look forward to seeing you all in person. I think I answered all their questions, Lynn.
Perfect. All right, Marie for Office of EMS and Trauma.
Okay, thank you, Liz. You gave me an extra 5 minutes. Well, hello, everyone. Stacy already introduced herself, but I want to welcome Stacy to our GCTE group. She is the state trauma coordinator, system coordinator for the Office of EMS and Trauma, and she and April are attending an ACS consult visit with Wellstar Cobb today. So that's why April's not with us, but Stacy's on the line. So Stacy, do you have anything you want to say to the group? If not,
nothing major, just I'll be new at this and have a lot to learn, but I look forward to meeting everybody and getting more familiar with GTC and learning the ropes.
Great.
Marie, would you introduce yourself, since we have so many new people, just to kind of remind everybody?
Oh, certainly. My name is Marie Probst. I'm the state trauma registrar under the Office of EMS and Trauma, DPH. So if you ever have any questions about the registry, just email me or give me a call. So I'll go ahead and give a couple of updates. I mentioned that April and Stacy are attending an ACS consult visit today. So April's not with us, and Stacy took time to join this call. So we're glad to have her with us. April and Stacy are tag teaming, reviewing the OTCPEs for first quarter fiscal year 2024. So Stacy is becoming familiar with that form, both the trauma and the burn form. And many of the forms have already been accepted and completed. But there are several that are pending the TMD signature. So if you guys would, please prompt your TMDs to sign those attestation forms. So the form will go through the next process for April and Stacy to review. The big news I have for you regarding the data download to the ImageTrend Central site is that the V5 SDL file that you all need to install in order to download to the Office of EMS and Trauma's ImageTrend Central site will be available very soon. They have not given us a date, but they have said that it will be in the next few weeks. So 2 weeks is what I'm looking forward to. So before the end of December, that file should be distributed to you. And those of you that have Registry Anywhere will be able, the ESO will install that file for you. If you do not have Registry Anywhere, you'll receive the file probably from Joe Russo like you did the 21 and 22 file. Please have your IT department install it as soon as possible so that you can run your V5 download for the 2023 ITDX plus Georgia extension transfer file. And then go to the ImageTrend site and import the 2023 download file. We'll be sending out the PowerPoint instructions on how to do that because we do have new people that may not have done that before. Just as a refresher, it's been a while, so everybody will get that. The 2024 SDL file will be distributed to everybody that's on the V5 after the first of the year. Again, they haven't given us a timeline yet, but I expect it to be before sometime in February so that you can complete your March 1st download like you will for GQIP and TQIP and TDB. So when you're able to do that download to the Office of EMS and Trauma's ImageTrend Central site, you'll be downloading January through September 2023 data. And that is the same data set that is due on December 1st to GQIP and TQIP and TDB. The next thing is Gina will probably say more about this, but we started the GQIP OMST QA data process, and we visited our first facility, and both sides learned from the experience, but I'll let Gina add more information on that when she speaks. On the EMS side, we have the OMST medical director. He is new to us. His name is Dr. Muhammad. He is an ED physician at Northeast Georgia, so we're glad to have him on board. The armband pilot project is still in progress in Region 2. And as soon as the ImageTrend site receives the V5 data from Northeast Georgia, our Office of EMS and Trauma folks will be able to use the data that's imported into the ImageTrend system to test the record linkage using the armband data that Northeast Georgia imports. The armband pilot project is a federal grant sponsored project. And as soon as the verification of data linkage is complete, then I imagine they'll move into the next region or the different facilities to begin testing the import ability of that armband number and linkage. So I think that's all I have. Any questions? No, hearing none. I'll pass it back to Lynn. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Marie. That was great information. Cheryl, are you on for the Trauma Foundation?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi.
Just for those of you who are new to the call, I am Cheryl Ward. I am the Executive Director of Georgia Trauma Foundation. And in a nutshell, I would say we are the philanthropic arm of the trauma system here in the state. On the call also, who will be giving a report first for the foundation, is Karen Hust. She is serving as our education coordinator for our Rural Continuing Education Program Initiative. So Karen, if you could give an update.
Yeah, hey, can you folks hear me okay? I'm
Yeah.
actually, okay, great. I'm traveling to Cordele and we're kind of on back roads here, but so we have executed on several of our TNCC, NPC, and one RTTDC course so far. There's been overwhelmingly positive feedback from the facilities that hosted. We've captured folks from over 20 counties across Georgia and a number of hospital systems as well. We're still struggling with having an adequate number of instructors to be able to seamlessly offer the courses to the number of learners that are signing up. Lynn knows that we have a huge number of people signed up for the TNCC coming up in Dublin this spring, but we're looking at some creative ways to be able to expand on the number of folks that we originally had planned for that class, so that we aren't turning anyone away. So lots of opportunities to teach, and I hope you folks will have an opportunity to sign up and help us out as faculty in these programs. Anybody have any questions?
You're breaking up a little bit, Karen, but I think most of your report came through. And I appreciate it. Just as a reminder, Cheryl, could you kind of give a brief update about what this grant, how we got this grant and what it's for?
And I'll pass it back to you, Cheryl.
Thank you, Karen.
It is a Rural Continuing Education Program grant. It is funded by a grant that was awarded to the state or through the state Office of SOAR, State Office of Rural Health, sorry. And they are a division of DCH. And so it's a competitive grant award, and it was put together so that we could provide professional courses to those who need it in rural communities. You know that quite often there are lots of obstacles for people to be able to attend the courses, whether it's the cost, whether it's books, whether it's taking the time off, whether it's expenses associated with travel. This grant award covers all of that. So if you are on staff at one of the rural or critical access hospitals here in the state of Georgia, and I believe there are 67 of them, then you are eligible to apply for this course and attend it for free. So there will be no expenses that you would incur, with the exception of whatever your own personal travel expense is, because we don't pay for your hotel or your gas or mileage, but we do take care of everything else. Does that cover what you're looking for, Tracy, as far as explanation of the program?
Yes, and I appreciate it, Cheryl, and I want to apologize to the group. I sent Gabby the agenda for the last meeting and not for this meeting. So these things aren't on here, but Cheryl also wants to talk about Georgia Gives, which is a giving campaign. And I just want to remind you about, you know, if you do come across any trauma survivors that you think would be willing to share their story, that's always a good thing to keep up with for purposes of follow-up. And also Cheryl wants that information because if they're willing to share that story, that might be something that we can share, as we call it at our hospital, a connect to purpose. This is why we raise money and we want to do research and we want to educate, because we want to make people who've gone through trauma we want to make their experience and their treatment the best it can be. So I'll write back to you, Cheryl, and
Okay.
sorry if I took over.
Oh, no, no, they're fine. We're all working together. So as Tracy mentioned, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Georgia Gives. Now, I know that everybody on this call plays a pivotal role in trauma care, and I, as well as everybody else on the call, you know, we're all grateful that you're here. So as the Georgia Trauma Foundation, we are here to support and help advance the trauma system statewide. And in order to do that, we need everybody's help when it comes to raising funds. So for the first time this year, we're participating in Giving Tuesday. And that's the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. Many of you have probably heard of it, but it's when people around the world make donations to support the various causes they care about. So we are asking for you to support us in a couple of different ways. One, we'd like you to give a donation of any amount. And then two, after you give your donation, share about the campaign with your family and friends. This year's Giving Tuesday is November the 28th, but just like Black Friday special start early, you can go online now and make your donation. It's easy to donate. You can go to our website, GeorgiaTraumaFoundation.org, and you'll land on the donation page. You'll also receive an email that will give you the QR code with an invitation to give. We plan to make this an annual event and hope that every year you would choose to support it, because this is simply an opportunity to take individual smaller gifts, and what we would do then is to combine them so that it really, we can make a difference on various trauma projects around the state. 100% of the donations go to support programs. It's all tax deductible. Nothing goes for salaries, nothing goes for overhead. So please give, share the opportunity with others to support a field in which you are already so heavily invested. Again, you can go to our website, GeorgiaTraumaFoundation.org. You'll land on the donation page, and then you'll also get an email with a QR code with an invitation to give. Also, one more thing I'd like to mention. We are working to increase our social media presence. So we'll ask that you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and X. And that's at Georgia Trauma Foundation. If you followed us on the old Facebook page, we don't have access to that anymore. Someone else was the administrator, and I don't have any way to get into that. So we have started a new Facebook page. So again, please follow us. So thanks, everybody. Any questions about Georgia Gives on Giving Tuesday? Oh, I'm sorry. The flyer is up, and you can scan that QR code to donate now.
And I believe Gabby included a copy of this flyer with the invite. And so, you know,
I did not. I will send it out because all the flyers or the things that you sent were sent to the old email address. So I did not get those until
my bad. So
today.
yeah, so I seem to be doing a lot of that lately, Gabby, so my apologies.
No
We'll send that to you, and you know, it's just a good thing to do. Even if it's $10, everything helps. My husband and I have gotten to the point where when we want something, we buy it, and then my kids complain because there's nothing to buy us. And so, you know, even if it's something like this, sometimes it's a good thing to do, or do it in honor of somebody. So that's just, you know, let's support one another and the trauma system.
Mm-hmm. And Tracy, you're right about that, because if you think about it, right now I'm showing 128 participants on the call. So if everybody gave something and then shared the invitation or the opportunity to give with 5 or 10 of their friends who would probably turn around and share it with others, then we would really begin to make a difference and get the ball rolling on starting to raise funds for the system.
Yes, that's.
I wonder if we could also post this at our hospitals, like, you know, get permission to post it somewhere, like in the cafeteria or in the emergency department somewhere.
Awesome idea.
wherever anybody would allow you to post it, then please do that. And then again, if you follow us on social media, you could just forward the information to those who you're connected with on the various social media platforms.
Thank you, Cheryl. And again, don't forget, if you do have the name and contact information of a trauma survivor, if you'll email that to Cheryl Ward, that would be great. And I'll probably keep that on there just to remind everybody. That's a great thing to keep up with.
Yes.
Next, we've got Gina.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. So can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I got a lot, so I'm going to try to get through this for you guys, because we've got a lot of stuff going on, which is great. A couple of important housekeeping things. I did just share this week a reminder with the trauma program managers that yes, the download to GQuip is scheduled for 12/1. I know we've got the TQuip conference going on at that time. So, and November is very quickly getting away from us. So just a reminder for that. And thanks, Liz, for sharing that PBP and explaining a little bit around some of those new items that we put in there. And as we're getting this arborimetrics up and off the ground, it seems like it's been a long time coming. And now I think it was Karen who Hust who said, you know, I said, yay, there's finally a light at the end of the tunnel. And she laughed and said, you know, be careful, it may be a train. And Karen, it's a train. It is a train, Karen.
No.
Thanks for that. Yes, it is a train and it's coming quickly, which is exciting for that. But it also brings some great things to light, and that we have to have the data on time on a quarterly basis for this to be beneficial for us. So that is why we've put that PBP around that, because what I have to do is send files to Arborimetrics that they upload into the platform for you guys to be able to see the data on your end. And this will make more sense when you have access to it. And for GQuip to have, you know, the bigger picture. So, you know, we can't be waiting, you know, for everybody to, I can't send the files until we have everybody's data in there. So, you know, with that being said, we kind of have to put a deadline on it. So, you know, with that 2-week window, we're going to kind of give a 2-week grace period for that. And then we will send the files on. And so if your data is not submitted timely within that 2-week grace period of when it is due, your data won't be in that quarterly benchmark. You'll have to wait until the next one. So that's why we've kind of put it in the PBP from that standpoint. Thank you, Marie, for mentioning the data quality. I've been, you know, I really told Tracy, you know, I was like, I need so much time for Arborimetrics. I didn't even think about that, but I do think it's important to mention because we did have a great visit with one of our level 4s. And our plan is to do some data quality visits. We kind of came up with a game plan of what we thought it would look like, what we were thinking the process might look like, and we had a center that graciously volunteered, and we learned as much as we hoped they did, and took some of the feedback, and we will apply it to the next visit. So really our goal is to kind of start with the level 4s based on some of the feedback from the PTSF visit, and give them some love and support for that. So Maria and I sat down and kind of mapped out how we could get our level 4s done, hopefully within the next 6 to 7 months. You know, and that kind of coincides with how I can get the Arborimetrics project up and going during that time, and we can get those visits done. So it was a really good visit. And then after we get the level 4s done, we kind of want to take what we learned from that and kind of expand it to the new centers that come on, and then the level 3s and then beyond, and knowing that the different level centers will have different needs from that. So it was a really good exercise on that. So Arbormetrics. So light at the end of the tunnel. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Could you, just for the new people and just to remind some of us old ones, Arbormetrics is your way of saying this is our GQuIP database, right?
Yes, and thank you, Tracy. You know, it seems like we have been this has been 18 months.
Right.
Actually longer than that, because Liz really started this project before I even came on for that. So it's even been longer than that. But from the time we kicked off the project with Arbormetrics, you know, it's almost been 1.5 years. So Arbormetrics is a risk-adjusted benchmarking application, so that not only will GQuIP have access to aggregated data from all the centers in the state, so that's why the centers download their data to the GQuIP central site, but each center will have access to their data. And we have some folks on here that were gracious enough to help me do some of the user acceptance testing. So they have seen the platform in its infancy in that part, and provided some feedback. But they will be able to see, you will be able to see your center, and you will see your center and how it fares in comparison to GQuIP, which is all the centers in Georgia. So, and you will be able to, we're starting out with a few process measures and outcome measures. The first process measures are time to definitive care, and we have some metrics around transfers out, and we have some metrics around transfers in. And then our outcome measures, we have some measures around mortality, and then also hospital events. So that's what we're kicking off with, but we will build. So this is just a foundation. So this will grow. You know, we took, this is just the beginning of, you know, what we wanted to see. So the important thing, and on the GQuIP TMD call yesterday, for all of us to remember, is this is a work in progress. So out of the gate, it is not going to be perfect. And what is going to be important is the feedback from the end users, which is you guys. So even with the user acceptance testing that we did, and the feedback is going to be constant from everybody for it to be a platform that is something that is useful for you guys. So it will be a constant work in progress. And I have spoken many times to the Michigan folks, and who have reiterated this to me, you know, that y'all will be part of the team as this rolls out, to go, you know, what if we did this way, or what if we worded this way, or I would like to see this sliced this way, that would be helpful. So it will be a constant feedback process. So just remember, when we do stand it up and you look at it and use it, we will be constantly accepting feedback in ways that it could be enhanced or made better, or this doesn't make sense and maybe we need to look at it this way. So that will be something to keep in mind. But we do have a light at the end of the tunnel, and we finished the user acceptance testing. The platform, the user interface platform, will looks like to go live by the end of the year. But with that being said, what we will have to do, because we have so many centers and so many users, and I'm sure most of y'all have probably forgot, the trauma program managers, we asked for a list of users from each center, which was provided to me. It's probably been 6 or 7 months ago now. So we have that list of users that will be loaded initially. But new users will be able to be added. I will be able to add new users at any time. But we're going to start with that initial list of users who will get logins.
Is that it for you, Gina?
What is important? Can you hear me?
Gina, you're cutting out a little bit.
Can you hear me?
I can now.
Okay. I don't know why I am cutting out.
Go ahead. So you kind
Is
of
that better?
ended the Arbor metrics and then it just went.
I don't, is that better?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. All right. I don't know. Sorry, we have, we'll be standing up 130 users to start with between all the centers. And with that many users, and I'm kind of the one person who will be educating and getting everybody stood up. What we will have to do is do a rolling onboarding for all the centers. So we will do 4 phases of onboarding for the centers. So it will really take all of January into the first, I think, week of February is kind of the tentative plan that I have right now. So it's a lot of information. I can't give you everything right now, and we're still working out the plan. So what I need everybody to know is you'll be getting a lot of information from me in the next few weeks about details about the onboarding to the Arbor Metrics platform, what that will look like, when your center will have access, and those kind of things. So that's really what I have. So the most important thing is, you know, all centers should be live, hopefully by the first couple of weeks of February. And you can't break it. That's the important thing to know. You know, there'll be a lot of learning, is just to get in there and play with it from that standpoint. And what will go along with that, Marie mentioned a little bit, we have been working on the data dictionary that will be coming out. That is the next thing that I am working on. I am working on the changes that ESO needed to be made to that. And I will get that formatted and hopefully out within the next couple of weeks to everyone. I know the registrars need that. So the goal is for myself is to hopefully have it out by
Gina, we've lost you again.
great. And I have 5 bars on my little hotspot, so I'm not really sure what to do. Can you hear me now, Tracy?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's possessed.
It must be possessed. The weather is not great down here, so I don't know if maybe that's a
problem.
Maybe that's the problem, because I'm already down in Cordele, so you know, this might be the hamster on
the wheel.
On the wheel down here. So but if you have any specific questions and you're going to be at the commission meeting tomorrow, please come up and ask. I'm happy to, you know, answer those. Like I said, there'll be a lot of information. Look for that from me in the next few weeks, 3 or 4 weeks. We also have the TQIP conference coming up the first weekend in December, and we'll have a collaborative breakfast on Saturday morning. So hopefully we'll have some time to catch up on some of those things. So it's a lot for me to try to go over in the 10 minutes, but we'll be setting up some education and may have to do some separate calls for everybody, especially the groups that will be onboarding at different times. So it's a lot of people to try to get through and educated. So that's the plan right now.
Okay, thank you, Gina. I want to remind everybody that there's a link for your attendance in the chat box. So please use that link for your attendance to make sure you get counted. And I think Cheryl had a few more details she wanted to give us about the Georgia Gives campaign. If Gabby, you could show us that flyer again on Georgia Gives.
What about people that have called in?
You can email us so that we know.
Okay, yeah, I had a couple of questions about the campaign, so I wanted to give you all a little bit of additional information. When you go to donate, there was a question about whether you can do a donation in memory of someone or in honor of someone, and you can. Under the area where you fill in the amount where you'd like to donate, you can check add a dedication to your donation. When you check that, there'll be a spot that says dedication address. Just click on the drop down box and then you can select what you want to do. And your options would be dedicated to, on behalf of, in honor of, or in memory of. So you have all of those options if you'd like to recognize someone specific as it relates to your gift. In addition to that, there are a lot of different ways that you can pay. You can do debit card or credit card. You can also do PayPal, Venmo, Google Pay, Apple Pay. And then if you want to give a donation by check, you can also do ACH. Now, in order to do the ACH payment, which would be by check, you have to give a minimum of $50. But there's no minimum associated with the others because you're able to automatically access those payment methods. In addition, there was a question about our Facebook address, the profile page. What I'll do is I will drop that link into the chat box for you so that you can find us easily. Were there any additional questions as it relates to Georgia Gives or Georgia Trauma Foundation? Well, thanks, everybody. I really appreciate the interest, and we've already gotten a donation while we've been on the call. So I appreciate it. And yes, I can put the Instagram link in as well.
And for those of you that are attending by phone, if you cannot use the QR code, if you will email Gabriella or Gabriella.say, S-A-Y-E, at gtc.ga.gov. And we'll put that in the chat for you also. Just make sure you use the QR code and also, or either email Gabby at her email address. So next we'll go into the committee reports. So thank you for Cheryl for the update and Gina for your presentation. So next we go to Kendra.
Hi, everybody. Can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Thank you. I am calling in also as we're driving through rural Georgia, so I hope that I don't break up or get lost. So, but if I do, my apologies. I just wanted to update everybody about a couple of things that the Education Subcommittee has been working on. Last year's big main project that we were doing, the education PowerPoints to help hopefully reduce the occurrence of AKI and the prolonged time to transfer to definitive care. Those are complete. I've gotten feedback from everybody about any changes that needed to be done. Those are ready for prime time. I'm going to be sending them after the meeting today to the GCTE leadership just for a final approval before we make them public. And then if there is no other, if there are no concerns or no other recommendations for any changes or updates, we'll go ahead then. And we're still working, we're trying to talk about some maybe like an online cloud that we can upload everything to. So, or, you know, a central site that we can upload education and information to. That may be an easier way for everybody to access that, so that you don't have to, you know, send emails back and forth and hope people that you don't fall to the bottom of their email thread and that they see you. And so, but we will be forwarding those, making those available to all of the centers to hopefully be able to share with their referring hospitals, especially those that they know are particular outliers in terms of long transfer times, things like that, to hopefully help improve transfer to definitive care times. So that is finally wrapping up last year's main plan. And then this year, our two main targets that we're working on are trying to develop a trauma program managers toolkit, one that will be targeted more for like the level 3 and level 4, the new centers, to help onboard particularly new trauma program managers in these centers that are going through the process to become level 3 and level 4 centers. You know, giving them points of contact, information they really need to know, and then some hopefully helpful tools and, you know, just information that they can use as they go through the process and as they, you know, serve as the trauma program manager. It's a big, gigantic learning curve. And if we can make it easier, that's really our goal. So we're going to try and do one that's targeted for the level 3 and level 4 centers. And then we will try and do another a parallel toolkit that's targeted for the level 1 and level 2 trauma program managers to help them also function in that role, because it's a little bit different. There's some different requirements and different focuses. So that's one of the projects that we're working on. We have a work group that has been formed for that, and we'll be developing some plans with that. And then the second item that we're working on this year is a sort of a survival, or, you know, the information that the bedside nurse in the rural or community hospital non-trauma center will need to know, essential skills to help them to safely and effectively care for patients in that first hour. It's sort of the supplement to TNCC or you know, ATLS to help give the local nurses that immediate, quick, rapid knowledge of what they need to know to safely care for those patients until they can get them stabilized and transferred. So again, we have a work group who's formed to work on that. And I just want to thank everybody on the committee who's stepped up and has agreed to serve and help develop these tools. We're excited about it. We hope that it helps support particularly our rural and smaller lower level trauma centers that, you know, are learning and coming up through the process. So that's our goal. And if anybody would like to be a part of the education subcommittee and is not at this point, please feel free to email me at it's KHOLM@augusta.edu, and I would be happy to add you to the education subcommittee. We are always grateful for people who want to contribute to the education in the community, but also want to share the information that's going on in the trauma system in Georgia with their hospital as well. So thank you.
Thanks, Kendra. Next we got Kelly Roker for pediatrics.
Yep. Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You mind if I share my screen quickly?
That'd be good.
Okay. Let's see. All right. Can everybody see my screen?
Can you make it a little bit bigger? Is there a view?
There is, but it's only gonna, let's see. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So first thing that I'll talk about is our SIPA project. Dr. Smith has given her SIPA lecture at multiple meetings throughout the state of Georgia this past year. SIPA education has been completed at all of our pediatric centers. This is the tip sheet that we settled on. So it's a one-pager, has a brief summary. It's for nurses and providers. So this is the tip sheet that went out to all the pediatric centers that they use for education. We didn't have any negative feedback about it. Seemed pretty straightforward. And we felt like it was important to leave these, the relationship of SIPA score to respiratory rate, heart rate, and blood pressure, because as you can see, these seem pretty unreliable in the pediatric patient individually looking at them. So this would be the correlation, which makes it become very obvious, the relationship of heart rate to systolic blood pressure. So if everyone can just, take a quick look at that and just see if anything blaring might need to be changed, we'd appreciate that. Otherwise, we were waiting until after this meeting and report out to send this SIPA teaching sheet out to every center in the state of Georgia. Anybody have any questions on SIPA? SIPA is the pediatric shock index, by the way.
So shock index pediatric adjusted is what it stands for, right?
Yes.
Not we're gonna SIPA something from Starbucks.
No, not SIPA, but SIPA, yeah. Shock index pediatric adjusted.
Looks good.
All right, thanks. The next thing that we have been talking about are pediatric transfers. So in coordination with the education subcommittee who's looking at timely transfers, pediatric subcommittee started looking at some data on pediatric transfer rationale. And we started looking to see if anybody had an interfacility transfer toolkit. And we did find one, but it's from the early 2000s. So we decided to go ahead and try to do some benchmarking with the Pediatric Trauma Society leadership listserv. We got a ton of responses, but no one has a toolkit that they use, but everybody thought it was an incredible idea. And of course, if we create one, everyone wants it. So I think this project probably became a little bit bigger, and we're super excited about it because I think that's going to be what we work on next, is creating an interfacility transfer toolkit for pediatrics for the state of Georgia, which then is most likely going to be shared nationally. So that's some good publicity for the state of Georgia and trauma. We're going to start on the logistics portion, and then we'll move into specific physiologic and just some specific chest trauma things, abdominal trauma things, non-accidental trauma things, and put everything together in a big toolkit that'll be able to be sent out to everyone.
And Kelly, I think this is really great work, and this will also support PEDS readiness in some aspects as far as recognizing what you can handle and not handle, or what you're prepared for. And it also goes along with some things that the PI committee is doing that Karen will be talking about in a few minutes. So this is great work.
Yeah, thank you. We're really excited about this project. The next thing is whole blood transfusion. So CHOA is about to embark on the Eggleston campus in the MATIC, MATIC2 study. It's a big, huge study amongst pediatric centers out of the University of Pittsburgh. So Eggleston was accepted, and Scottish Rite is an alternative site. So I think before the state starts talking about using whole blood in children, we probably should at least embark on this study and make sure we're doing what's safest for our pediatric trauma population. Obviously, the biggest concerns are dosing, titer, and availability, and those things will all be addressed in this national study. So I think it'll be good, and it's funded, and we will know of any deficits before we move to using whole blood in pediatric patients.
That's awesome. When does the study start?
Eggleston, I think Eggleston is going to try to wait until they move into the Arthur Blank Center. So obviously, if the study needed a center to step in, if it starts before that time, then we would, try to get Scottish to step up and in for Eggleston or AMBH.
When are they scheduled to go into the new building or the new area?
Next September.
Okay. So we're probably looking at 25 for them to try to see much data coming out.
Yes. Yeah, that's correct. And, most of the people that I've spoken to about using whole blood transfusions in kids, I think, there are a lot of centers around the country that are already using whole blood. And obviously, if the state wanted to move forward to using whole blood before this study, the PEDS subcommittee can pull together a lot more research as to the efficacy of using whole blood in children. But I think this MATIC2 study, because there are so many huge trauma centers around the country that want to be involved in this study, in my opinion, it would be worth waiting, but that obviously is going to be up to people who make a lot more money than me. And that's about it. We're just continuing to try to work closely with the PEDS Ready Committee. And like you said, Tracy, I think our interfacility transfer toolkit is in alignment with trying to support that group who's in charge of pediatric readiness for the state. So
excellent. Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you. Yep, you're welcome.
Okay. Next is, I think, Karen or Rayma.
Hey, this is Karen. So the Performance Improvement Subcommittee, we've been focusing on soliciting feedback on best practices from the Georgia trauma centers that have attendees on our meetings. And the goal is to facilitate decreasing that emergency department length of stay and the time to definitive care. So we're focusing on flags like your ISS greater than or equal to 16, shock index, systolic blood pressure, GCS. We think Arbormetrics is going to be a huge assist when that goes live for this this data. We are looking at standard language scripting. There's a lit review in progress to identify additional literature so that we can try to implement a red box criteria here in Georgia to help cut transfer acceptance times. And Tracy, Charlie, and Crystal are working on that. As a component of that, we're going to pair up TPMs from transferring and receiving facilities. We've encouraged them to do this on their own, and if they haven't set up meetings by the end of the year, we'll try to help them with assigning pairs so that they can actually get together and talk about the processes of their transfer centers, the pains that they have with getting folks accepted, and what we can do to mitigate that. So the CMarch Pause initiative is ongoing with emphasis on expediting patients, and we're looking at how this can be utilized to help improve transfer times and try to loop everything together. So we're in the first phase of developing a transfer feedback template, something that can be used as a formal process that would include all the appropriate information, standardization. We're looking at goals for timeliness of the feedback. Ashley Faircloth sent out a survey that looked at what feedback would be most helpful to the sending facilities to receive back from that higher level center that accepted their patient. Everyone agreed that a template would be ideal. And we've reviewed the process used currently at a level 1 center, and we've had 2 people present from level 3 centers, what they're currently receiving and what they would like to have. So this will be added as a topic for discussion when the TPMs from the transferring and receiving facilities get together to discuss their red box criteria as well. So, and then lastly, our level 4 audit tool was completed and presented. We had a nice attendance at a virtual session in October, and the feedback indicates that this helped kind of bring things together for a lot of TPMs and PI nurses. And at the end of the year, a survey will go out, and we'll see how many facilities have adopted the tool and how many folks feel like we can expand on it, or is there more education needed, things of that nature. I know we have several level 4 facilities coming on board, so I want to make sure that we've gotten that information out to those folks so that they can have something to go by right from the get-go. Anybody have any questions? Rema, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I did want to mention, Karen, that when I did that literature search, and I'm still working on that, that I also included what, there were a couple of articles I found what different systems have done to kind of not only the red box criteria like this, and when Karen mentioned red box, kind of like this patient really needs transferred, so trying to give a sense of urgency for some of these trauma patients to speed things up, but also looking at the feedback criteria, the scripting, anything around that and related to trauma transfers is what we're looking at. So I think it'll be interesting to see what that is. And I'm really excited about what this committee is doing. I think we've got a lot of good collaboration going on.
Yeah, this is
Thanks,
Raymond.
Tracy.
I don't have anything to add, Karen. I think you captured everything very well.
Thanks. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, Kelly.
Hey, everyone. So the registrar or registry subcommittee met at the end of October, and there are 2 big things that are going on right now. The first one is the data dictionary. We had ESO come present because I think from a clinical perspective and how we all look at the data dictionary, we look at it to define and standardize how we answer a question. Well, the vendors look at the data dictionary as, okay, you know, if they have oral airway, but the choices are, let's just say a true oropharyngeal airway, an ET tube, a combi tube, an LMA. How do we map all of these things based on what their data dictionary says? So we had ESO come and kind of explain what they do or how their perspective when it comes to our data dictionaries. And through that meeting, and just in working, I think Gina's been working with Arbormetrics and then working with V5, and then Maria's working with ImageTrend. It's the more detail we get into, the more we realize that we basically need two different data dictionaries. ImageTrend, you have one for the state where ImageTrend knows what they're looking at or what they are trying to pull and what those definitions mean to us. And ESO does the same. So the majority of the October meeting was about that. The other part that the registry is working on, of course, is that funding that was allocated by the Trauma Commission towards registrar education. Yesterday, I sent out a survey link and a question I sent it to everyone that's typically in the registrar subcommittee that are registered trauma centers that receive funding. We're trying to figure out, in talking with all of the centers, everyone felt like the AIS course was the course that everyone needed. So when we met with AAAM, what we discovered is that the CAISS test will not be updated to the 2015 material until March of 2026. So for every center that's going to have to go through either a consultative visit or a verification visit between now and March of 2026, your registrar or trauma program manager, if they're the one that does the data abstraction, they're going to have to take a test off of the 2008 AIS course. So we sent out a survey yesterday. I want anyone who does data abstraction to fill it out for your center. So I know Grady has multiple registrars. I know some centers you have one person that's your PI person and your registrar, or one person that does all three. Whoever is the one that's putting in the majority of the data, that's who I want to complete this survey. The idea is we need to figure out, with this amount of money that we have, do we have a 2008 full course? Is everyone comfortable with 2008? And maybe we just need to wait and do a 15 update and spend this money elsewhere. I'm just trying to understand where we stand. We did talk in talking with AAAM, if we do an in-person class, we can have as many people as we want versus virtually, which they limit it to, I think it's 25 or 24 people. But if we do the in-person class, they have found a much higher success because people are networking, they're working together. The faculty are able to walk around and brainstorm with the groups that are working on the patients. So we are looking at dates in February to host this in person if the survey comes back that we are going to do a 2008 course. So more to come. I know that survey just went out yesterday. Please, please, please encourage your people to complete that. If you have any questions on that, you can email me and I'll put my email in the chat. And I think Tracy, and on another note, from a transfer perspective, any of you that are working on transfer, interfacility transfer processes, that is my DMP project. So if you want any information, or I've got the full review of LIT and some things that I've found, we've started piloting something here. So if I would love to talk to you or get information of what you found. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Kelly. And I definitely want to talk to you about looking at your literature. Maybe we can share and look at this stuff together. And go from there. And that's really good information about AIS certification. And I'll be covering that in just a little bit, looking at standards review. So a lot of good work going on there. And just as a kind of an aside, when Kelly was talking about 2 data dictionaries, if you use the ESO software, you only have to have that data dictionary. If you use the image trend software, then you have to have that data dictionary. But what they're finding was just too complicated as trying to combine it all into one. And so that's why she was talking about the 2. And like she said, data dictionary for a software vendor means something different than it does for a registrar or a trauma program manager or a PI coordinator. And so it's hard. We're kind of learning all these things as we go. So Kelly's done a lot of good work, and so has that committee. And just keep on trucking. So thank you, Kelly and Colleen. Crystal?
So I'm hoping y'all can hear me okay as well. Also coming back from rural Georgia. Everybody can hear us okay?
Yeah.
All right. So I believe the last time I reported out to this group, we were in the midst of our Stop the Bleed webinars. And of course, that turned out to be very successful. We actually wrapped up with more than 900 folks in attendance, and the schools were great this year, being a little proactive and getting those folks, for the most part, checked off really quickly after they were able to do their webinar presentation. So we just appreciate everybody that helped with that. And we will be doing that again the beginning of the new year, but a much smaller window of time, so a little less heavy lifting for the team. So several of our IP and Outreach Committee members and RTAC team folks converged on Atlanta for the National African American Gun Owners Association National Conference. There we provided 4 Stop the Bleed provider sessions in addition to a number of instructor sessions. And of course, that was a national group. So we've actually heard back from several attendees in other states, and they've been getting programs going and been able to purchase Stop the Bleed kits or tourniquets for groups within their community. So that's been really nice to hear. The Wellstar Kennestone team has been running point on the LUTC teen driving summits across the state. They do a great job of coordinating with each RTAC and other trauma centers to assure that the events are really representative of the state's trauma commission. In fact, that's where several of us are traveling from today. And I know several folks converged on Sandersville, Georgia yesterday. So just appreciate the Wellstar teams, everybody, all the various hospitals that have participated in that. And certainly Fairview Park ran yesterday at Augusta University. Several of you, I certainly hate to leave anybody out, but just thank everybody for being a part of that. Anyway, September was huge, with many teams focusing on Child Passenger Safety Week, Suicide Awareness Month, and Fall Prevention Month. We're going to be engaged this week and weekend with National Injury Prevention Day events. Most of you, if not all of you, should have received an email from me with some events that are coming up that are centered around that. You're certainly welcome to take part in that. There's a toolkit online at injuryfree.org, and there's some graphics you can use for social media posts. Really, if you're available, I know a lot of us are going to be down in Cordell tomorrow, but if you're not participating in those activities, our iPrice partners, along with CHOA, Safe Kids Georgia, is doing an Injury Prevention Day webinar event. I know tomorrow night, Memorial Health and our Ride Safe Central Georgia campaign are kind of kicking off some ATV safety awareness activities. And then we will be doing an MCI Multiverse activity this coming Friday. I know many of you have participated in that, and I appreciate these teams and all of you for helping make that better. I will say, with the MCI Multiverse, we are partnering with a lot of folks from the Georgia Department of Education and the Georgia's CTAE programs, which is the healthcare and public safety educators. within the state of Georgia. And I just wanted to kind of put a bug in everybody's ear that we have several high schools that have got student groups that are interested in partnering with you on some of your MCI preparedness, or perhaps being patients and victims in those events. At the last MCI Multiverse event that we participated in, there were actually 5 different patient groups spread across 5 different hospitals, and several high schools participated virtually in their own tabletops. So just a great way to thread that common thread from all the way from Stop the Bleed to what's happening in our hospitals, you know, in terms of the trauma chain of survival. So if you're interested in knowing more about that, if you haven't been harassed enough about that and would like to know more, just reach out.
Thank you, Crystal. And just for everybody's information and for our newer members, MCI stands for Mass Casualty Incident. Thank you. I just always say MCI equals disaster drill in the old language. Or
yeah,
so it's anything where you're expecting a lot of incoming, and just how to work that out. And Crystal and her group have come up with a really unique way to run that with or without real patients. And it's a good practice to look for areas where you have opportunities for improvement, you know, throughout the hospital. So thank you, Crystal. And thank you to Wellstar for the teen driving outreach and work throughout the state. I think this is I've always said Georgia's really good because we have different pockets of excellence in different areas. And they've really led the way on this teen driving, and, you know, just going across the state, they've done a lot of work and I really appreciate it. Okay. So I'm going to go over a few standards. That's what we've been trying to do at each meeting. And so let's see if I can find my other, here we go. Switching over. For those of you that I have not talked to recently, I seem a little bubble-headed sometimes. I've been working from home for the last 6 weeks. I have back issues, and I'm going to have surgery in a few weeks. So I hate to say that I will not be at TQIP. I probably will be having back surgery that week. But it's given me a new perspective on the patient perspective of things and healthcare. But I've been blessed that I can work from home, and that I've got a team that really has, you know, been working with me to do things virtually as much as I can. So talking about the standards. So we're going to be looking at, these are all from the Gray Book, or the 22. And when you download your standards from online, or if you bought it, just make sure that the front cover of your standards has the date December of 22. When they first came out with the standards, it said March of 22, or it might not have even had a date, but then, you know, within a few months they republished it. And so the first publication did not have standard numbers in it. And so there were some that either got left out or they rearranged things. So make sure that the standards version you have says December of 22 on it. So standard 4.31 talks about trauma registry staffing, and this applies. So right after, when you look at your standards book, it tells you what trauma center level it applies to. So it applies to level 1s, 2s, and 3s, and to PTC, which means pediatric trauma centers, levels 1 and 2. And this standard is found on page 71. Okay, so what they're saying is the basics. You have a half FTE registrar for every 200 to 300 patient entries. Well, that's about how many patient entries we have between NTDB and Georgia required elements, give or take. And then if your facility has anything extra, so you're almost, you could say, instead of saying 200 to 300 patient entries, you could pretty much say 200 to 300 patient records. So if we double that up to 1 FTE, you know, you can, for every one FTE or registrar you have, you can expect them to close between 400 to 600 patients. And that depends on the level of training and the level of experience that that person has. So this information I have in italics comes straight out of the standard trauma centers. So this is a minimum staffing standard, minimum. And this is why this stuff in italics I'm talking about. Oops, sorry. It's saying you have to take into account additional tasks beyond abstraction and entry of patient data assigned to the registrar. So things such as reports, data analysis, research assistance, meetings that they have to go to. You got to think about downloads, uploads, whatever you're loading with your data. The mapping that Kelly referred to, you know, are things, if you have, and you say that your patient is intubated, in your registry, you click intubated, okay, but when it goes to NTDB, is that what it gets interpreted to? So that's the mapping. So you're wanting to make sure if this is connected, this is a female, is it connecting to the right female data point in NTDB? You want to make sure things are going where they're supposed to go. Additional staff will be required, and that's here in this underline, to perform these tasks to ensure the integrity and quality of registry data, which are used for prevention, PIPs, which is performance improvement and patient safety, and other essential trauma program aspects. And then the screenshot straight out of the standard, which you go to your standards book, measures of compliance. So this is what they're going to ask for in the survey. Show me the proof. So how do they know that your standard, you know, your staffing is where it should be? They're going to look at the number for trauma registry personnel, and then they're going to want to report annual trauma registry report that shows the volume of all entries or volume of all patients. So in a nutshell, that's it. But go to page 71 for your standards and look at and see what it says here. So where Kelly was talking about each trauma center, if you're a level 1 through 3, you have to have at least one person on staff who is certified in AIS coding. Okay, and we said that was standard 4.32. So let's look here. This is the standards book. I just keep a shortcut to it on my desktop. So you see this right here. Make sure this says it was released in March, but revised in December. You want to make sure that's the version you're using. Unfortunately, it does not come with these tabs. I put them in there, but that's how I might have written the number wrong. Let's see. Oh, yep, there it is. 4.32. So see, applicable levels. And I don't know if that's what I'm showing you or not. Is that what you see on your screen?
Hey, Tracy, I took over because it was just on the agenda. Do you want to reshare your screen?
Yes, thank you for doing that, because I'm not showing you then. Thank you, Abby. So share screen, and right now I'm sharing the standards. So are you seeing it now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you pointing it out. So it's on page, I got to move Gabby out of the way. So I'm looking at AIS, and it's saying that's continuing education, courses. These are all the ones we're going over. So finally I get to it. So certified abbreviated injury scale specialist. This is a type 2 standard. So in other words, you can get up to 3 type 2 deficiencies and still remain verified. But any more than that, you're out of the game. If you have a level 1 or a type 1 deficiency, that's it. You're out of the game. You cannot be verified. So that's the difference between the type 1 or type 2 deficiencies. And they're saying applicable levels. It goes to a level 1 center, level 2 center. It applies to level 3. It applies to a pediatric trauma center 1 and 2. So in all trauma centers, so levels 1 through 3, you have to have at least one registrar that must be a current certified abbreviated injury scale specialist, CAISS, and that measure of compliance is going to be evidence that you've got somebody on staff that has this certificate or this certification. So if I look at, and Gabby, keep me honest here to see if we switch or I need to reshare. Can you see this now? This other handout?
No, it looks like it's still on the 4.32.
Okay, so let me go to, let's see. Sorry about this. I'll get it right in a minute. Famous last words. Zoom. Resume share. It's not sharing. Let's see. Stop screen share and then reshare. Sorry about this. Where am I? Right here. Okay. So this is the handout. So we talked about staffing, 4.312, 4.31. 4.32 is AIS certified. Okay, then 4.33 trauma registry courses. So this is really your one-stop shop, and we'll send you this handout. You know, it's just kind of an abbreviated way of looking at all these registry related standards. And so it says anyone with a registry role in data abstraction or entry, injury coding, ISS calculation, there should be a comma there, data reporting or data validation for the trauma registry. Now, this last one is really important because I firmly believe, but this does not say that, but think about it. Anyone who's abstracting, entering data, doing data reporting must participate and pass a AAAM AIS course, take a trauma registry course that includes information, and this is the information. I'm taking this straight out of the thing, you know, and then also participate in an ICD-10 course every 5 years. So if you've got registrar, or if that's what you're doing, you've got to have this training. I firmly believe, and I encourage PI coordinators and or trauma program managers to take an AIS course at least once and to go to a registry course at least once. Because I did that early on, and I've been doing this 10 years, but I had no idea what we were collecting, and it opens your eyes of what you're doing and what you're not doing. So I really encourage you, and this is really important with this upcoming, and sometimes the person who's in smaller centers, it's the same person, it's the TPM or the PI person that's also the registrar. So I really encourage you guys to take advantage of going to these courses and learning this information, because it makes a difference on your scoring and your benchmarking. It just really does. So measures of compliance, what are the surveyors going to look at? They're going to look at a list of your registry staff and the date of hire. And so basically you might as well go ahead and create a folder now. And this is what we did. And each person who has a folder, each registrar, we have their certificate, course certificate from AAAM on the AIS course. And, you know, no matter how old it is, get that original one in there. I encourage you to take it periodically, as an update. Get that trauma registry course certificate and that ICD-10 course certificate. And they need to be dated, So this is why they're saying they want this list of registry staff with data hire. And then they want to see the stuff with that person's name on it. They might just randomly pick a couple registrars. Go ahead and just have this stuff ready because they're going to ask for it. So really think about this and think about how that might add to for if you're in a position more as a program manager or a nurse coordinator or PI person. I think it's really helpful to take this education and have this education. So 4.34 trauma registrar continuing education. You got to have 24 hours of trauma related continuing education during the verification cycle. So continuing education can be internal, external, or online. For consultative visit or initial verification review, 8 hours has to be obtained within the reporting year. So I had my survey back in April of this year. So my reporting year or my data year was in 22. So if this had been my first verification review or my consultative visit, they want to see 8 hours from that 2022. And so what are they going to ask for? Those CE certificates or transcripts during the verification cycle. So if you're a member, if you go to these meetings, I put these down. You don't get a continuing education, but you do get continuing education from our registry committee meetings. So I really encourage you to go to those. It's good for you to go. Plus you get those education. Those are free education, 4 hours of free education for your registrar. Okay, so they got to have 24 hours, but we encourage our registrars, if you happen to be a member of American Trauma Society, Trauma Center Association of America, they have a lot of webinars. Sometimes you see webinars coming across grand rounds. The grand rounds that you see mail outs from different hospitals, those are free. It's always good to get that information and understand when they're talking about, let them understand the information that they're putting. We're making our registry as a concentrated electronic medical record of a trauma visit. So let them understand that what's going on. And so go to those grand rounds, get those continuing ed credits, look for all the free stuff you can. But, we also have internal, we count it, for different meetings, and each registrar, the way we've set it up at our hospital is like a little Excel sheet for each registrar, and they need to keep up with their own continuing education hours. And it's their responsibility to keep up with the certificates and be able to produce them. You do it what's good for your facility, but depending on your size, it might not be that big a deal, but if you're larger, then it might be harder to do. And the last standard we're looking at is PI staffing requirements. So this is a little nebulous, but again, this is standard 4.35, talks about PI staffing requirements for a patient volume greater than 1,000 patients. You should have at least one FTE. So what are they going to look for? Annual trauma registry report that shows the total volume of entries, roles and responsibilities of the PI personnel. So what is roles and responsibilities? That's your job description. And then they're going to say, how many people do you have and what do they do? So this is really important. And I guarantee you, they already asked for your PI plan. And so they know what you're looking at or not looking at. So they're going to look for it. And you can actually come back to other things and say what's going on as far as your staffing. Sometimes when you're surveyed, I truly feel, at least doing this as long as I've done it, it seems like we never have enough staff to do what we want to do, and we're always fighting to get staff. But, as much as it's a pain on some of these standards to comply with it, sometimes it does help you. And the buzzword that you want to use is it's a regulatory requirement. And I use that for trauma registrar staffing all the time. And this one for PI staffing, this is new this year. They didn't have one before. So it's still a little bit hard because after 1,000, they kind of leave you hanging. But if you think about Navicent, Atrium Health Navicent, we had 4,000 patients last year, and we've got 2 trauma PI people, and that's not enough. But, you know, we're fighting, constantly fighting. You're trying to get more because they want you to look at a lot of stuff. So very quickly, that's what I've gone over. You'll get this handout. Again, I just want to remind you that you want to look at your trauma standards, have just like you should have a data dictionary handy, whether you look at it in hard copy or whether you look at it electronically. You should have easy access to those standards and to your data dictionaries, because you know that's what everything's built on, and that's your measuring stick. Whether it's at your measuring stick at survey or measuring stick when it comes to benchmarking reports, you know, and as far as the data dictionary. Does anybody else, or does anybody have any comments or questions?
Tracy, this is Pam. I just want to agree with you wholeheartedly that anybody who has their fingers in the registry needs to be trained. Be it PI, be it coordinator, regardless of the role, if they're doing anything, and really so that we're all speaking the same language, we need to have the same training. So I really strongly encourage AIS training, trauma registry training, and for our PI people, we need to get into the topic, even though it's not required.
And actually, I'm glad you said that, Pam, because as you know, once we get past all the basics with our registrars, that's what we're starting to try to send our registrars. It's a slow process, but get them into the topic courses because it starts making the light bulb go off. You know, this is why we collect this, or this is why we collect it this way. And when you know the why of what you're doing, then, and Josie has always said a lot about this, but when you understand why you do something, you tend to be a lot more likely to comply with what you have to do, or be a little more meticulous with your definitions. So thank you, Pam, for that input. And I am glad that you're a Boomerang member of GCTE. You left, but you were just missed us so much that you came back. So, I think it's just really important. Anybody who's in that registry needs to have this training. You just don't realize what the standards are. It's just like, what is considered a standard for the trauma registry? Well, we don't know because a lot of us are from different backgrounds, whether you've been a nurse or an EMT or whatever your background is. You don't know until you go to these courses and you get exposed to that information. So I really encourage you to go to that. So watch for Kelly Vaughn's updates. Make sure you take the survey that she sent out. And, you know, we're really fighting hard to get this education out there. We want you to be the best that you can be. It takes a long time and a lot of work to get your data to be truly reflecting what is happening at the bedside. And that's what it is about, getting the data and making that concentrated record. And then you're sending it off to TQIP or to GINA for Arbormetrics, kind of like the Georgia version of TQIP almost, you know, and that gives us a little snapshot. So if your data is not accurate, it's not representing what you're doing, you know, then it's not really useful. And think about it, sooner or later, some of our data is going to be sent to CMS. NSQIP is already sending data to CMS. So think about sooner or later, trauma data is going to be sent to Medicare, you know, and Dr. Avery Nathan said something about this several years ago, but it's coming. So whatever goes to Medicare, you want to make sure it's correct. So that's part of your fighting words is you've got to, this is how you're benchmarked. whether it's at a state or national level, you are being benchmarked or in other words, being compared to other hospitals. Who wants to say that I've got a pulmonary embolus rate 2 to 3 times the national average, which is where we were in 2016? I surely didn't want to say that, but it's what I had to say because that's what it was. And so that's what started our journey on working on VTE prophylaxis. And we're 7 years into it, and we're still working on it. So everybody has pockets of excellence. I think that's what makes Georgia great, is that we collaborate, we share, we want to share information or knowledge, and that's what I'm trying to do with going over these standards. I don't propose that I'm an expert on the standards because they're new, but this is just as I understand it, and some of these standards are newer and some of them aren't. Does anybody else have anything they want to say?
Hi, this is Nadine, the Burn Program Manager.
Yes.
First, I just want to tell you thank you so much. Thank you so much for just sharing this with us, and I'm hoping that we'll get this sent out so that I can share with our team as well. Because I actually just spoke to the ABA last week for just guidelines and standards as it relates to burn. And I know burn is the worst form of trauma, but there are some differences. But just knowing the standards, we literally just spoke about the PI coordinator and what their volume should be, and the registrar as far as burn patient and what their volume should be. We look at what trauma does, but we don't have one specific to burn. But nevertheless, what is done with trauma, we use as a guideline until the ABA have something for us to follow. So from the burn program, I want to tell you thank you.
Oh, sure.
There's some standards and guidelines that we can at least utilize and mirror while the ABA is working on their standards as well. So much appreciated.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for that input. And it is important to know, just like, when I started making noise about trauma registrars, people looked at me like, I was a cyclops, and they're going, a trauma registrar. If I said cancer registrar, they knew what that was. So sometimes I'll, use that. So just like Nadine said, in burn, they don't have these standards, but she can say, but trauma does. And it is a form, burn is a form of trauma. And so if we use that as an example, and there's her lead in, and there's the standard, then there you go. So you've got to just use anything and everything you can lay your hands on. And that's what we try to do. So, thanks for the input, Nadine. So just
real quick, they're actually going to be working on it to have standards for burn, as we ask them for standards for the PI, the registrar, even education, and how because it's only 3 burn centers in Georgia, like where would we go for education, things like that. So I just want to thank you guys so much. Much appreciated indeed.
Sure thing. The last portion we have is shared experiences and celebrations. I think Kelly Vaughn is probably tap dancing or doing the river dance because she made it through a survey in the Gray Book. Kelly, is there anything you wanted to share?
Yeah, I mean, we have recovered. It took quite a while. Having not done a consultation or verification, anything under the Orange Book, I don't have a lot to compare it to, but there was if you get the Trauma News links, there was an article that talked about under the Gray standards, things to consider, or if you're going to go through a visit. And I read those. Mary Beth and I actually both read those. And they are true to form. You need to know all of your charts backwards and forwards. You need to, because basically whatever you submit in your charts and they find or they talk to you about, as they tour, as they talk to physicians, they will ask the same questions related to what they saw in the charts. And the other thing that I did not realize, the agenda looks different, and the surveyors apologized, and I hope it's fixed by now. But the big meeting that occurs, they gave us a list of who they wanted, but they actually want a lot more than what was on our list. So, so that's just, that was just a lesson learned. I think that was a lesson learned on both sides. They were going to give some feedback. I think they said we were the first. So I think they had a lot of questions, but I mean, overall, I'm glad we did it. We survived it. We have a lot of work to do.
I was surveyed in April, but under the Orange Book. So that's the third survey I've had under the Orange Book. But I said it's kind of like an enema to your program or to your registry. It all comes out, good, ugly, and bad. But it really gives you a new focus on things.
Yeah, I agree. This is Mary Beth. I agree. I actually feel like a lot of things were answered. A lot of questions that I had were answered once we were preparing for the ACS survey. And for me, it actually, it's been super beneficial because things have just kind of gelled for me and come together. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to kind of do a little, I don't know, a mock preparation for a survey, because things it's pretty interesting how they did it, and the fact that they have so much time to review the charts, and I think it's really, really important for you to pick the right charts and pick charts that backwards and forwards, because they are going to ask you a lot of questions, in particular about protocols and guidelines, and making sure that you're checking your standards to each chart. And so they'll go back and they'll say, well, what does your spleen guideline show? And you'll have to be able to answer to that. And so it was a really good opportunity for me to learn. And I'm really grateful that we went ahead and went through it.
Tracy, this is Ashley Billington. We had our survey November the 1st and 2nd, our consult over the Gray Book, and while it was a daunting task, it went as well as you could expect. I mean, naturally we had some deficiencies, but overall it was a good learning experience, and it was a good experience for us. So I'm eager to get our non-compliances corrected and move forward.
It makes you feel good, though, that it kind of validates, as Mary Beth said, it makes things gel for you. You can see things a little more concretely, because sometimes it's hard to envision what they're after. But kind of like you said too, you'll have what they call deficiencies, where they just say flat out, you didn't make this standard. But then they'll have, say, opportunities for improvement, which is, well, for the most part, you did meet the standard, but you could do better. And so they list those. And so we've got that list, and we have to go back to it every now and then and just keep looking at it, and you just keep working on it. So thanks for sharing, Ashley, sharing your information. I did want to share with everybody, it's not necessarily a celebration, but just information, that Faith Rand, who is one of our PI coordinators, this would be her last meeting, and I'm not sure if she got to join today or not, but she is going to be leaving us. She's got a husband who's active military, and they thought this was his last 3 years in the military. He would not be deployed, and he is going to be deployed. And this is actually going to be the second deployment in 2 years. And so she needed to have a different job where she could be home more and be a little more flexible than what is allowed by our the current job as it meets. So she's done a lot of great work for us, and we appreciate the time she spent with us. She's added a lot, been very active in some of our meetings. And if she's on the call, I just wanted to express that I appreciate her, the work she's done. And I know she's connected with several of you, and just everybody wish her the best of luck. She's going to go into cancer research. So while we wish her well, we don't want to be one of her patients. So, and I hope that she does well, but then we'll be having a position opening up soon. And we need to pray for Josie because now she's got somebody, me at home in the bed or having surgery soon. And we're going to have that position open. So we're looking at some different alternatives to what we're going to do. But I wish Faith all the best of luck. And she's going to make an impact, a great impact wherever she goes.
Thank you, Tracy. That was very kind. And I'm very sad to leave the group, but it's just what I need to do for my family. And I'm very grateful for the Georgia trauma system and how great we communicate. And that's all you can hear throughout this whole meeting is the collaboration. And I'm very proud to have been a part of it. So, and I wish everyone the best.
Well, if there's no more business, I move that we adjourn. Just a couple of
Tracy,
minutes.
We have
Yes.
to review the 2024 meeting dates.
Oh, yes. Okay. Could you put those up for
Yep.
me? Thank you. So these are the proposed 2024 meeting dates, and I think we need to have them approved. Is that right, Gabby?
Yeah.
Okay. And so this is just to go along where we're usually either the day of or the day before typically, right? Except
Just 2 times a year when you're meeting hybrid with the commission meeting. So
okay. Okay.
that'll be Chateau Elan and Zoom on May 20th. And then State Office of Rural Health on November 20th in 2024.
Okay. Can I get a motion that we approve these dates?
Hey, it's Karen. I motion to approve and I'll second.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you for your attendance. We'll send out my updated agenda that I didn't send Gabby until today. And these, you should already have these meeting dates for next year, and I'll send my handout. We'll send that with the minutes. And thank you for your attendance. And we're adjourned now at 3:59. Thanks.
One quick question. Winston, Charles just wanted you guys to know, Dr. Renz, that they couldn't make the meeting because they've been in our ACS consultative visit all day.
So what was the question? I'm sorry.
It's not a question. I didn't know if they were required to be at the meeting. Winston, he's a trauma program.
Oh, no. Well, I think it's just that he's active, but if he's got a consultative visit, totally understood. I think there's, that's fine, but thank you for letting us know.
Okay, I didn't know if it needs to be noted anywhere. He just
Okay.
wanted to let you guys know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.